Lighting is probably the most important part of cinematography, along with composition. Like all cinematography, the goal of lighting is artistic expression, but there's a lot of technicalities mixed in. To start, it can be good to learn common lighting techniques and why they are visually effective.
In order to achieve great lighting, you must first understand your goals. These will be highly dependent on what you're shooting. But one of the most common goals is highlighting your subject in an interesting way.
This tends to come in the form of lighting which accentuates the shape of the face using the contrast of the highlights and shadows. Notice the alternating between light and dark and light as you move between and across shapes.
Sometimes the goal of your lighting is to obscure someone's identity or to make them look evil or benign. Sometimes you're shooting for TV and you need your lights to work for every conceivable camera angle.
Either way, know what your goals are and then think about how to achieve them. No matter what your goals are, there's one principle you should always adhere to: motivated lighting. All light comes from somewhere, and your audience knows this. If your scene has a mysterious light coming from a place that doesn't make any sense, the audience will notice that and be distracted. Think about how you can add light to your scene to match the real lights that are already there. Or, if you need to, add real lights to give motivation to pretty film lights you've already got set up.
If you do it correctly, people will think you found a place with great lighting instead of a place that was unnaturally lit for a movie. That said, it's usually a good idea to turn off any overhead lights because they're hard to control and often will have a low CRI.
Okay, so how do we light a scene in general, typically for the most part?
Well, the first setup anyone will teach you in lighting school is 3-point lighting. Here, the goal is to isolate the subject by contouring their face and making use of shadow.
To do this, we'll use 3 lights, each at a 45-degree angle from the subject and 90 degrees from each other. The first is the key light, which is usually the brightest light and will illuminate one side of the subject's face. From the other side of the subject is the fill light, which will brighten the shadows on their face just enough to prevent it from looking film noir. Finally, there's the hair light, which is placed at an angle behind the subject on the side of the fill light to light up the subject's hair, giving that side of the head an outline and preventing shadows from bleeding into the background.
As you can see, it looks really nice, and it's used all the time in film to be extra dramatic. You can shoot faces from the shadow side or the side of the face opposite the key, which is more in shadow. This adds more detail to the face and often looks more moody. Sometimes you won't need 3 lights. If your subject is near a window, that sunlight might be overpowering to every other light in the shot. In this case, don't overcomplicate things, modify the light to your liking, and roll with it. Moody lighting with lots of shadows and hard light sources like this is called low-key lighting. This is the opposite of high-key lighting, which we saw earlier, which is bright and soft and often used in TV because it suits all angles. To lean into the low-key lighting, just put a light directly opposite the camera and create a silhouette. This is great for obscuring your subject or conveying a dark tone. But wait, you may be saying, I want a shot that looks straight out of Blade Runner. Then perhaps you want a little more color. Perhaps you'd even like some split color lighting, like this. This is where you choose complementary colors to highlight a subject's features, or just make the shot look really pretty. My personal favorite is bisexual lighting, like so. As I hope you've realized, these setups are just scratching the surface of what you can do with lighting. The best way to learn is by trying different things.
But if you're getting paid and only have 2 minutes to come up with a lighting scheme, just use 3-point lighting.
Bye-bye.
Bye.